A warrant of trade, signed by the Emperor himself. Who will join me on this glorious voyage?
Eliminate all hostiles.
I like the title.
Right? It's catchy. Today we're going to talk about different professions in the Warhammer 40,000 universe.
Which is a massive topic.
It really is. Usually when we talk about this setting, we are looking at the big battles, you know, the grand strategies, the massive armies.
Space Marines fighting Tyranids and all this.
Exactly, yeah. But today we are looking at the 9 to 5.
Or, I guess, the survival to death, depending on the job.
Yeah, exactly. We have pulled together a massive stack of articles for this. Some really fascinating breakdowns on the actual quality of life in the 41st millennium.
Because it's a grim universe.
Very grim. So our mission today is to categorize the occupations of the galaxy. We are going to start with the best jobs, the absolute peak, and then we are going downward. Which horrific job we will end with, well, you will just have to see. Huah.
Huh. And, yeah, I've seen the bottom of this list. It's rough.
It gets so dark. But let's start at the very top. The absolute best gig you can get in a galaxy of eternal war. According to the articles we've read, that has to be the human rogue trader.
The Freibutera, yeah.
Right. And it's hard to argue with that, honestly.
It really is. If you look at the Imperium of Man, it's fundamentally a totalitarian regime, right? It is strictly regulated. It is brutal.
Right.
And for basically 99.9% of the population, you are born, you work, and you die on the exact same rock.
Just a cog in the machine.
Literally sometimes.
Yeah.
But the rogue trader, they are the exception to the rule.
The articles mention they hold this thing called a warrant of trade.
Yes.
Which is not just like a standard business license, is it?
Oh, no. It is an ancient hereditary document. Sometimes these things were signed by the emperor himself 10,000 years ago. Or at least by the High Lords of Terra.
Wow, so it's got some serious weight.
Total weight. It essentially places the holder completely above the standard laws that bind every other human citizen.
So they can just break the rules.
Basically, yes. They are conquistadors and diplomats and explorers all rolled into one. They take these massive ships out beyond the boundaries of the Imperium into the Halo stars or unknown regions. And here's where it gets really crazy. They can trade with Xenos.
With aliens.
Yeah.
Which is usually a massive capital offense, right?
Oh, yeah. Suffer not the alien to live is the core dogma. For anyone else, just talking to an alien is heresy punishable by immediate death.
But for a rogue trader...
For them, it's just a Tuesday afternoon trade negotiation.
That is wild.
They live in immense wealth, usually on these ships that are practically flying cities. And they're allowed to be highly eccentric. It is the only life in the Imperium that offers genuine freedom and agency.
I just love that idea, that the ultimate luxury in this fascist theocracy isn't just gold, it's literally just permission.
Permission to move. Freedom of movement is the ultimate currency there.
Okay, so that is the human peak. But let's look at the orcs. One of our articles lists the orc war boss, or the Kriegsherren, as incredibly high up on the quality of life list.
Which sounds completely counterintuitive to a human.
Right, because to an outsider, being a warlord in a state of constant, unending violence sounds incredibly stressful.
Only if you think like us. You really have to get into the orc psychology to understand this one. Orcs are essentially a biological weapon that evolved into a civilization.
Right.
They love fighting. It is their biological imperative. It's what they were made to do.
So if you are the boss...
You're in the biggest fights. You have the best job because you are doing what your entire species loves most, but at the absolute highest level. You are basically self-actualizing through extreme violence.
That is a terrifying concept. Self-actualizing through violence.
It is. Plus, the perks seem genuinely great for an orc. The articles note they get the best loot, the biggest guns, the thickest armor, and the most teeth.
Teeth. As in literal teeth.
Yes, the orc currency, which is a really fascinating economic model, honestly. Teeth naturally rot and degrade over time.
Oh, I see. So you can't hoard them.
Exactly. You cannot hoard wealth forever like a dragon. You have to spend it before it rots. It keeps the orc economy constantly moving.
That is weirdly brilliant.
Right. It's a total meritocracy of violence. As long as you keep winning and getting physically bigger, because orcs actually grow larger, the more they fight, you stay on top.
So no taxes, no politics, just crumping?
Just crumping. For an orc, it's paradise.
All right, let's move from the brutal to the mystical. We're looking at the Eldari now. The Eldar. Specifically, the Farseer or Siardansen.
Now, this is a very different flavor of the best job.
Yeah, the articles paint a very different picture of their society.
The Eldaris live on these massive world ships called craft worlds. And if you compare that to the grime and pollution of a human hive city, a craft world is basically a post-scarcity utopia.
It's clean.
Clean, advanced, beautiful. They have art and music everywhere. It's highly civilized.
And the Farseer is the leader of all this.
The spiritual and political leader, yes. They walk what's called the path of the seer. They use immense psychic powers to look into the strands of fate.
So they're predicting the future.
Trying to, yeah. Their entire job is to navigate the future to prevent their species from going completely extinct.
That sounds like an insane amount of pressure, though.
Right.
Like, hey, don't let our entire race die today.
It is a huge burden. You have to remember the Eldari are constantly hiding from Slaanesh, the chaos god they call She Who Thirsts. If the Farseer messes up, their souls are devoured for eternity.
Yikes.
But in terms of their daily existence, they live for thousands of years. They are deeply, deeply respected by everyone around them, and they experience a level of intellectual fulfillment that no human mind could really grasp.
I guess looking into the cosmic future definitely beats working in a sweaty manufactorum.
Absolutely.
Speaking of navigating it, let's go back to the Imperium, the human navigator.
The novice nobilite. This is a really cool case study in how biological necessity creates a forced aristocracy.
Because they are mutants, right? And the Imperium famously hates mutants.
Hates them. They actively burn mutants at the stake on most worlds, but the navigator has a very specific, extremely valuable mutation, the navigator gene.
That gives them the third eye.
Right. And this third eye allows them to physically see the currents of the warp. Without them, interstellar travel is completely impossible for humanity.
Because computers can't do it.
No, you can't steer a ship through a literal dimension of hell and chaos without a human who can see the road.
So they have an absolute monopoly on space travel.
Total job security. Because they're so irreplaceable, they live like high aristocrats.
The articles say they live in these isolated spires on top of the starships.
Yeah, far away from the filth and danger of the common crew down in the lower decks. They have immense political power, extreme luxury, and they are basically untouchable by the Inquisition or anyone else.
It's funny how having a monopoly gets you the penthouse suite in space.
Supply and demand is the one universal law that even the Emperor can't repeal.
So true. Okay, here is a group that seems to just break every single rule. The Eldari Harlequins. The articles describe them as the strangest faction in the galaxy.
They really are. The Harlequins are the servants of the laughing god Sigarak. They are warrior acrobats.
Yep. Warrior acrobats. It sounds like Cirque du Soleil, but with knives.
That is a perfectly accurate description. They perform these highly intricate dances and plays that preserve the history and the mythology of the Eldari race. But the plays themselves are also lethal combat forms.
So they kill people as performance art.
Literally, yes.
And what makes this such a good job? Is it the travel perks?
It's the absolute freedom. They're the only Eldari who can move freely between all the different fractured sub-factions.
Really?
Yeah, they go to the strict craft worlds, they go to the dark torture city of Camorra, they visit the primitive Exodites, and no one ever stops them.
Wow.
And even better, unlike the other Eldari who have to constantly wear spirit stones to hide their souls from Slaanesh, the Harlequins are protected directly by their laughing god.
So they don't have that constant hanging existential dread.
Exactly. They are liberated. Their entire life is dedicated to art and war combined, and they answer to absolutely no one except their god.
That does sound incredibly liberating for this universe. Okay, last one for the best jobs category. Let's go back to the greenskins. The Orc Mech Boy.
Ah, yes, the odd boys.
This one stood out to me in the reading because the article mentions they have genetic knowledge. How does that work?
Well, you have to remember, orcs were likely created by a super ancient race, called the Old Ones, to be the perfect biological weapons. So a mech boy is born instinctively knowing how to build engines and weapons and vehicles.
So they don't go to orc engineering school.
No, they just know how to weld random pieces of scrap metal together to make a functioning death ray. It's hardwired into their DNA.
That sounds like a constant flow state. Just pure, unadulterated creativity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They love loud noises, they love super fast vehicles, and they just love building things. And because they are the ones enabling the war effort, they naturally rank higher than the standard orc boys.
The article did mention an occupational hazard, though.
Blowing themselves up.
Yeah. Unplanned rapid disassembly.
But see, to an orc, that's just a practical joke. It's part of the fun of the job. If you die in a massive, catastrophic explosion of your own making, that is a genuinely good death. It's not a tragedy to them. It's hilarious.
Fair enough. Different strokes. So we have seen the high life now. The explorers, the warlords, the acrobats. But we know that for every rogue trader, there are literally billions of people living a very, very different reality.
Yeah, the statistical probability of you having one of those jobs we just talked about is basically zero. You're not going to be the 1%. You are going to be the biomass.
Well, that is a comforting thought.
Ah!
We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are diving into the hard reality of the 41st millennium, the jobs that make you question if survival is even worth the effort.
It gets really dark from here.
Stay tuned. And hey, if you are enjoying this deep dive into the lore and you want more breakdowns just like this, make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really helps us keep the lights on and the data slates running. We will be right back.
See you in a minute.
Huah. We are back with Warp into War. We've looked at the dream jobs. Now let's unpack the nightmare. We are moving down the ladder, starting with the tech priest or the technology priest.
Now, you might logically think that being an engineer is a great job. In our modern world, it pays well, it's highly respected. But in the 41st millennium, you aren't really an engineer. You are a member of a fanatical religious cult, the Adeptus Mechanicus.
The articles really emphasize that they don't fix things in the way we would understand it. It's not about diagnostics and repair.
No, not at all. They view technology as entirely divine. So if a machine breaks down, it's not because a gear came loose or a wire shorted. It's because the machine's spirit inside it is angry.
So what do?
They appease it. They apply sacred oils, they burn incense, they chant binary prayers. It is entirely ritualized ignorance. They might know exactly the sequence of buttons to make a plasma reactor work, but they have completely lost the understanding of why it works.
And they apply this philosophy to their own bodies too, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. The flesh is weak. That is their core mantra. They actively, surgically replace their organic body parts with bionics and mechadendrites. They desperately want to become machines.
So what does this actually mean for their quality of life day to day?
It is incredibly rigid. True innovation is considered outright heresy.
Wow.
Yeah, you can literally be executed for trying to invent something new because you are tampering with the divine design of the machine god. Your entire existence is just maintaining ancient, decaying knowledge that you don't even fully understand. It's completely intellectually stifling.
Despite the cool robotic arm.
Despite the arms, yeah.
Okay, let's slide over to the Imperial Navy. We talked about the navigator living in absolute luxury at the top of the ship's spire. What about the common crew? The voidsman or the Rhymegast?
This is truly one of the most brutal existences imaginable. The articles call a lot of them void-born.
Meaning they're literally born on the ship.
Born, live, work, and die without ever once setting foot on a solid planet. The gravity is often artificial and prone to fluctuating. The air has been recycled for thousands of years, so it constantly tastes of stale sweat and ozone.
And the labor sounds just horrific. One source described thousands of workers using heavy chains to manually load a single macro cannon shell.
Imagine that. A shell the size of a skyscraper. The automated loading machines broke down 5,000 years ago and nobody knows how to fix them. So now they just use pure human muscle, gangs of thousands of starving people hauling massive chains. If you slip, you get crushed.
And the discipline is insane.
Draconian. Mutiny is the single biggest fear on these massive ships. So the security teams, the armsmen, they crush any sign of dissent ruthlessly. You are just a disposable, fleshy cog in a machine that is flying through literal hell.
Speaking of cogs, let's look at the standard foot soldier for the other side. The Orc Boy.
The backbone of the greenskin hordes.
We said the war boss has a genuinely great life. Is it the same for the average Orc Boy? Because looking at it from the outside, it looks like absolute squalor.
Surprisingly, the answer is kind of yes and no. Biologically, they are born from fungal spores, right? So they don't have families or childhoods to miss. They just pop out of the ground fully formed and ready to kill.
And fighting is just the daily routine.
Constant fighting. If there is no human or alien enemy around, they just fight each other to establish dominance within their mobs. They follow the knobs, who are just bigger orcs.
This just sounds chaotic and painful.
It is painful. But here is the massive key difference between the human voidsman and the orc boy. The orc boy does not suffer from PTSD. They do not fear death the way humans do. They are biologically designed for war. So while it looks totally miserable to us living in mud, constant violence, eating squigs, the consensus in the articles is that for an orc, this is actually a fulfilling life. They are doing exactly what they were made to do.
That is a terrifying kind of happiness. Ignorance really is bliss when you're green.
Truly.
Now let's look at someone who isn't happy at all.
Yeah.
The Eldari Ranger or the Jagaran.
Specifically, we're talking about those from Craftworld LA Talk, or the ones who choose to walk the path of the outcast.
But we called the craft world a utopia earlier. Why on earth would anyone choose to leave a utopia?
Because a utopia requires incredibly strict rules to function. Craft world life is strictly structured. It has to be to keep their minds disciplined and hidden from chaos. Every single emotion is tightly controlled.
That does sound a bit much.
Right, and some Eldari find this totally suffocating. They can't handle the emotional repression, so they leave.
And they become these wanderers.
Snipers, scouts, vagabonds, they travel the galaxy, often completely alone or in really small groups. It sounds romantic, like a lone space Western hero, but the articles point out the immense risk involved.
Because their minds are unguarded out there.
Exactly. On the craft world, the Infinity Circuit, which is like a massive soul storage matrix, protects their souls if they die. But out there, alone in the void, if they die far from home, they have no safety net.
So they are completely vulnerable to psychic predators.
They are essentially like rebellious teenagers running away from a strict home, but the streets outside are a galaxy filled with literal demons who want to eat their souls forever.
High stakes for a little bit of freedom. Okay, now we come to a job that is completely vital for the Imperium, but sounds absolutely agonizing. The astropath.
This one really raises an important philosophical question about the cost of human civilization. The Imperium spans the entire galaxy, millions of worlds. How do you communicate across those light years? You can't use radio, it's way too slow.
You have to use the warp.
Right. And the astropath is the human radio receiver. They are psychers, people with psychic mental powers. But as we know, the warp is full of monsters. So to ensure they don't get immediately possessed by demons while they're listening to the warp, they have to undergo a horrific ritual called soul binding.
Which involves the Emperor himself?
Right. They are physically brought before the Golden Throne on Terra. The sheer, blinding psychic power of the Emperor essentially reshapes their mind to protect them.
But there's a massive side effect.
It almost always burns out their optic nerves, making them completely blind. And it often damages their other sensory nerves, too.
So they are blind, they are in physical pain, and their only job is to just listen to nightmares all day.
Basically, yes. They transmit interstellar messages through symbolic dreams and psychic visions. It is described in the lore as deeply mentally exhausting, and it literally drains their life force over time. They age fast and they die young.
But without them.
Without them, the entire Imperium collapses overnight. No coordination, no military orders, no warning of planetary invasions.
Talk about a thankless job. You are literally a human battery being slowly consumed just to keep the phone lines open.
Dark existence.
But I think we can go even grittier. Let's talk about the corpse skilled worker, or the lickscroat.
Oh man, this is specific to hive worlds. Imagine a city that covers an entire continent with billions and billions of people packed into a hive city. Resources are incredibly scarce. You cannot grow crops on endless layers of concrete and steel, and importing food for 50 billion people is a logistical nightmare.
So they recycle.
They recycle people. The Corpse Guild is responsible for collecting the dead from the lower levels.
And the final product is corpse starch.
A heavily processed nutrient food source for the starving masses. The worker's job is the physical processing and logistics of human remains.
That is just deeply grim.
It really highlights the sheer desperation of the setting. It's not cruelty for cruelty's sake. It is harsh mathematical survival. If they do not recycle the dead, the living will starve to death.
But just imagine that being your 9 to 5. Grinding down your former neighbors to feed your own family. The smell alone must be unbearable.
It's psychological torture on top of physical labor.
I think I have officially lost my appetite. But we promised the listeners the absolute bottom of the barrel. We have seen indentured slavery, we have seen psychic blindness, we have seen institutional cannibalism. What is the actual worst job in the galaxy?
According to all our sources, that title definitively goes to the Gretchen.
The Grot, the absolute lowest rung of orc society.
Yes.
But what makes them worse off than, say, the corpse guild worker? That sounded pretty bad.
It comes down to a total lack of agency. A corpse guild worker is miserable, but they are at least recognized as a human citizen. They get paid something. A Gretchen is a slave species. They are the smaller, weaker cousins of the greenskins.
The articles list their daily duties as menial tasks, which sounds kind of mild until you actually read further.
Carrying equipment, sure, sweeping up. But they are also frequently used as living shields.
Wait, living shields?
Orcs will literally grab a Gretchen by the neck and hold them up to catch incoming bullets during a firefight. They are kicked around, they are constantly abused, and they are frequently just eaten raw by the orcs if the orcs get a little hungry on the march.
And unlike the orc boys, they're not enjoying the violence.
No. That is the crucial key difference here. The articles mention their psychology specifically. They are actually a bit smarter and more cunning than the average orc boy.
Which just makes it worse.
Much worse. They are self-aware enough to despise their masters. They absolutely hate their lives, but they are physically tiny and incapable of fighting back. They live in a state of constant terror and have a horrifically high mortality rate. It is a brief life of pure fear and painful servitude.
Wow. Okay, let's take a collective breath here. That was heavy.
It is the 41st millennium. There are not a lot of happy endings to be found.
No kidding. But let's reflect on that massive disparity for a second. We started today with the robe trader. Ultimate freedom, wealth, interstellar adventure. And we ended with the Gretchen, who is literal disposable ammunition.
It really shows the sheer insane scale of inequality in this setting. But it also brings up a really provocative thought if you step back and look at the whole list we just went through.
What's up?
Look at who is actually happy on this list.
Yeah.
The humans, the astropaths, the voidsmen, even the deeply religious tech priests, they are all suffering. They have purpose. They are technically saving their species every day, but their lives are pure agony.
And the orcs?
The orcs are objectively the villains. They burn, they loot, they destroy entire planets. But the war boss and the mech boy and even the average boy, they are having the absolute time of their lives.
That is wild.
It raises a weird philosophical question. In a galaxy defined by endless, horrific war, are the bad guys the only ones actually having a good time?
Man, that is something to really chew on. So, to you, the listener, now that you have heard all the options laid out, is there a job here you would actually want to do? Or are you just incredibly happy to be sitting here safely in the 21st century?
I definitely know my answer.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the workforce of the grimdark future. We will see you next time.
And that brings us to the end of the broadcast cycle.
Thank you, sister.
The Emperor protects, Commander.
Thank you all, and remember to bolster the kudak for the next episode.